I did the logo myself. All right, can you see that okay?
Yeah, looks good.
Yeah, there it is.
Okay. Well, I'll start with this then. Okay, so um this was presented to my company ASI back in the winter of 2023. We were assigned topics um for a symposium just to kind of like research. We were basically told research any topic in archaeology that you want to talk about and present it to the class. So this was a way to like get field directors interested who might want to pursue a master's degree or just learn something about Ontario, you know? And this was actually drawing on your leadership, Sean, back in the day when we dug together. You had a rule that like we can talk about whatever we want on site, but at least once a day we have to have an archaeology conversation. We have to, you know, research something and learn about it and then talk about it. Because
That's
you're
right.
that was always your attempt to build a better worker.
Absolutely.
So this was presented to like non-Marxists and like people who are not maybe not familiar with Marx's ideas. Marxist theory of capitalism found its strongest following in archaeologists in the Anglosphere studying the modern world, what we call the historic period. His analysis of class is applicable to the deep-seated class exploitation found in the modern history of the West. Additionally, archaeologists studying capitalism are themselves embedded in these very same class relations. Leon and Porter defined historical archaeology as the archaeology of capitalism. Marx's influence in archaeology is a very broad tradition, as Marx himself was influenced by the leading anthropologists of his day, namely that of Lewis Henry Morgan. This examination of our relationships to the means of production showed that these relationships change over time but share a broad theme of a ruling class over an exploited class, a relationship that coincides with the advent of private property, inheritance, and exploitation of the land, enslavement of women, and development of city states and empires. So, general principles of Marxist archaeology is that Marx is an important intellectual ancestor and source of inspiration for those whose work is a starting point for archaeologists. The framework that studies sociocultural change puts social relations at the core of our research. Society is treated as a whole, a totality, like an engine as the sum of its parts. It rejects the notion that society and social progress can be reduced to individual parts. Contradiction and conflict are vital features of human society and internal sources of change in those societies. It therefore rejects functionalism, the notion that social phenomena can be adequately explained in terms of how they function to maintain society or allow it to adapt to an environment. A human centered view of history is given primacy, which gives human action or praxis some significant role in the process of history. It rejects forms of determinism like environmental, economic, and technological. Our knowledge of the past is created in a social and political context. That people make knowledge. We can never know or recreate an unbiased account of history due to our own material conditions, but we should strive to avoid making up history to fit our political and social agendas. It is a commitment that power relations and structure of the modern capitalist dominated world is unjust and destructive to people, and we advocate some form of socialism as the alternative to this system. So, a well founded Marxist approach strives for three goals: to gain knowledge of the world, to critique the world, and to transform the world. Marx's foremost contribution to political thought is the defining and critique of capitalism, the mode of production he found himself living in. Taking an interest in philosophy as a younger lad, he became immersed in the philosophy of Hegel, the German philosopher who developed a model of dialectics Marx would then apply to the modern world through economic and political theory. Dialectics are not a new concept. They have their origins in ancient Greek philosophy, but are found in many traditions around the world. The yin and the yang found in the Taoist religion is one such expression of dialectical thinking. Where Hegel sought to understand the world through the development of human ideas and imparting those ideas onto reality, Marx flipped Hegel on his head and instead argued that our world shapes our ideas, which we then use to change the world, which affects further ideas down the line in a constant spiral. We exist in a constant state of relations to one another: student and teacher, master and slave, peasant and lord, boss and worker. But over time, these relations change. The student becomes the master. The worker is promoted and becomes a boss. The small business boss loses their business to Walmart and has no choice but to become a worker at Walmart, etc. The dialectic views society as a whole, a complex interconnected web within which any given entity is defined by its relationship to other entities. You cannot have teachers without students, as each social entity exists because of the existence of its opposite. This relationship is best expressed through the base superstructure model. Our relations to production, our class position, affects our political outlook, for example. Over time, small cumulative changes build up pressure that results in a change in relations to production. The peasants overthrow the king and become the bourgeoisie. The historical spiral and changes in mode of production are what Marx calls revolutions. Sometimes they're violent and fast. Other times they take place over centuries, even millennia. The point is, nothing is stagnant, change is always in motion, and as Marx himself put it, the history of all hitherto existing society is a history of class struggle. For Marx, history creates the context for social action, and this social action creates history. Marxists take a holistic and anti-reductionist approach to the study of human history, rejecting the idea that real life can be reduced to its parts: culture, economy, politics, society, history, etc. Thus, a Marxist archaeology critiques processualism for its strict adherence to environmental determinism and homeostatic societies, while also critiquing post-processualism for its needlessly overly critical analysis of human history and overly complicated social theory, while rejecting general laws that govern human behavior. If we can't predict how and why societies change over time, then we can't change our current society for the better, and therefore we are stuck in time. V. Gordon Childe was the first archaeologist in the West to apply Marxist theory to his work. His work is best known for historical studies of diffusion and migration, and offered a direct challenge to the racial theories of growing fascist archaeology of Germany and elsewhere. He introduced a multilinear notion of evolution within which changes in technical knowledge affected social, political, and economic changes, imbuing these works with the dialectical contradictions that serve to impede and encourage change. He argued the elites of societies depended on competition with the elites of their neighbors, as well as social inequality within the society as the internal basis for power. They must oppose technological change that might threaten their power, but technological change was needed to compete against the elites of other societies. He visited the Soviet Union in the 1930s, and he was impressed by the state funding and support for archaeology, but became profoundly influenced by it. He was able to develop a Marxist theory of archaeology, something he could not do in the West, but at the same time rejected the state ideology of Marxism, such as the rigid and fixed evolution of human societies by stages, as well as rejecting Stalinism. His post-war theories kept the primacy of the base and superstructure, but rejected the base determining the superstructure. Change was not linear, but societies changed due to class struggle and periods of regression. His ideas of diffusionism were such that societies are interconnected and ideas flow between them, but not all ideas are spread, and they can be developed independently. Mm-hmm. So just as an aside, if you remember Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull, a student asked him a question in the library, and Harrison Ford goes, forget about so-and-so. Look up Gordon Childe on diffusionism. So I always had a theory that George Lucas was at least a Marxist adjacent or sympathetic to some of these ideas.
That is a wild theory.
Oh, I got more. I got more evidence for it.
Yeah, yes, you can say I have more wild theories.
I have more wild theories. Yeah. Are you following along? Is this interesting at all, or?
This is great, man. Are you kidding me? You put this together? It's awesome.
I presented this to the management at ASI. Yeah. So,
time is money, Aaron.
Marxists propose the difference between class and status. This is a very important distinction. Marxists propose a relational theory of class to replace more established notions of status. Historical archaeologists in the United States have traditionally discussed economic differentiations in terms of status. Status defines a graduated scale whereby people's positions is determined by the sum of their wealth, income, and/or prestige. In contrast, a relational theory defines class in the terms of social relations that link social groups to each other. The basis of these relations is found in the relations to production. Thus, it is easy to see why class and status are often confused, with one's income is often confused for their class. And this is why Marxists reject the notion of a middle class. It does not exist. Your class, and thus your relationship to the means of production, are not defined by your income. Dialectics helps archaeologists understand how many opposites are in fact united poles that are interconnected rather than seeing them as irresolvable. Dialectics used for studying change also emphasizes the interconnectedness of human society and examines the contradictions that make up society as a source for cultural change. Marx focused on the production and reproduction of life and the role that labor plays in that, and these social relations are reflected in material culture. Marxist archaeology analyzes material culture through the labor that is put into it from the point of production and relationship to society. Robert Painter defined historical archaeology as the archaeology of capitalism. He began his analysis by asking, why did the last 3 centuries see such a massive explosion of material culture in the archaeological record? Basically, he's asking, like, why are there so many artifacts in the ground in the last 300 years? Historical
Aaron,
archaeologist.
Chris said he can't make it.
He can't?
Yeah.
Son of a bitch. Okay, well, I'll finish. We'll finish this and we'll get started. Fucking cowards. Historical archaeologists have studied mold seams on bottles, hand-painted ceramics to transfer patterns on machine-molded ceramics, and the replacement of hand-cut nails to machine-cut nails. The Industrial Revolution had a profound impact on the material record, and this is reflected in how historical artifacts are produced and distributed. Gone are the handicrafts of the potter, the blacksmith, the glassblower. These skilled craftsmen now have to sell their labor power to a boss and produce these commodities en masse to earn a living through the social division of labor. Rather than one person making a ceramic pot, multiple people participate in the repetitive process in an assembly line, creating vast quantities of pottery. Even the names of these types of artifacts reflects their production and class relations: machine-cut nails, ironstone pottery, etc. Painter advocated a class model that focuses on changes in the means of production to answer this question. These things become the archaeological signatures for shifts in relations between capitalists and workers. In this way, the study of artifacts becomes more than a sterile exercise in technology, but rather becomes a study of changes in social relations that keeps people in the analysis and puts them before technology. In other words, how an artifact is made and who made it become the central question in studying the material record. So Mark Leon and his colleagues borrowed from Luis Althusser's ideas on ideology to develop a critical archaeology at the Annapolis Project. Althusser defined ideology as the taken for granted beliefs and assumptions that people have about society. He argued that an ideology serves to mystify the true nature of social relations and thus maintains relations of exploitation by resolving contradictions that exist within society. The project asked how, during the colonial period, the plan, architecture, landscape, and material culture of the city established and reinforced an Enlightenment ideology or a Georgian order of individualism, rationalism, equality, social contract. In other words, how does the city reinforce capitalism as the pinnacle of human social relations? The project sought to expose the contradictions and social inequalities the history of Annapolis obscured. The aim was to engage tourists in reflecting the colonial history of Annapolis in a critical reflection. Unfortunately, the project could not overcome the official history of Annapolis as well as the cultural and social relations involved in producing that history. Their responses expressed the basic tenets of a capitalist ideology, such as a preoccupation with the dollar value of recovered artifacts. So Annapolis is a high-end tourist destination accessible really only to the bourgeoisie and privileged workers. The most open alternative histories would be those who have been subordinated by the inequalities in society. Thus, the project has since turned towards the African-American working class community of the city. All right, so this is where this gets good. To take effective political action, archaeology needs to transcend the traditional middle-class community the discipline usually serves and ask important questions for working-class people. The Colorado Coal Field War of 1913 to 1914 was a significant event in U.S. labor history. On the morning of April 20th, 1914, National Guard troops engaged in a gun battle with armed striking workers at a tent colony of about 1,200 families. The National Guard swept the encampment, burning tents, looting, and leaving about 20 dead. The workers responded by burning company stores and killing company employees. The site is now maintained as a monument by the descendants of the workers with funding by the United Mine Workers. An archaeological dig was conducted to examine the day-to-day life of the workers enmeshed in the battle as a way of connecting descendant communities to their Union ancestors. The project also highlighted the material conditions of home life that cut across ethnic divisions before, during, and after the strike. It was also demonstrated that women and children were active agents, with male minors in formulating a social consciousness to unify for the strike. The project's message was simple: labor's rights to a safe workplace, benefits, reasonable wages, a 40-hour work week, and dignity were won with blood. They were not freely given by capitalists, but brought about with the lives of working people like those who died at Ludlow. So the final aspect of Marxism and archaeology is political action, applying the lessons of dialectics and history to archaeology as a profession. This means understanding our roots as archaeologists in the racist colonial past, a profession that began as a hobby for relic hunters, to being the domain of exclusively university professors and their students. With the advent of cultural resource management, or CRM, over the last few decades, we see the transformation of Ontario archaeology explode into a massive industry. 95% of all archaeological data is now collected through the labor of workers in CRM. And these workers exist in capitalism, which means we are not immune to the contradictions of class struggle that the profit motive inevitably brings. It was under these conditions that allowed for discussions of unionizing archaeology back in 2017, with the first victories occurring in 2018. British CRM archaeologists followed a very similar pattern. ASI has been an industry leader in Ontario CRM, and I'm proud to be part of a team that once again shows the way forward by being one of the first companies to unionize in North America. With the rise in right-wing reactionary governments propped up by their developer cronies, organized labor is another tool of the working class to not only stand up to people like Doug Ford, who desperately want to undercut archaeology, but participate in a general strike to bring this government down, should one ever get called. We came close in the fall of 2022 during the educational assistant illegal wildcat strike. The mere mention of a general strike caused Ford to blink and come back to the table to negotiate. I was proud to lead my crew to spend our lunch break visiting striking workers and standing in solidarity with them. We were also fortunate enough to have the union stand up for us when Ford's ministry wanted to gut certain archaeological regulations. LAUNA is a massive union of about 500,000 workers who told them to knock it off since they represent archaeologists now, and the Ford government backed down. So what is to be done? Capitalism makes revolutions inevitable. The only subjective factor is the human one. Rosa Luxemburg once posed the choice of socialism or barbarism. Which direction will we choose in the coming period? In order for archaeology to survive as a profession, capitalism must be abolished. You can't change what you don't control, and you can't control what you don't own. Echoing the call to decolonize archaeology, the entire profession must be nationalized under democratic workers and indigenous control. And this can only happen with revolution, the abolition of bourgeois parliamentarism, and the establishment of a democratic worker state that truly recognizes indigenous rights to self-determination. Decolonization cannot happen under capitalism. If you are to ever pose a threat to capitalism, workers must organize themselves outside the influence of the union bureaucracies and political reformists into a genuine organization of radicalized and educated workers alongside our indigenous comrades that leads the working class to power. For a revolutionary, decolonized, and democratic archaeology, for a general strike to bring down the Ford government, and for a socialist federation of Turtle Island and socialism in our lifetime. And with that, we bring in our good friend, Sean Thompson, who was with me in the very, very beginning, who helped formulate these archaeology unions. Sean, welcome to the program.
Right on. Thank you very much.
I think I'll just throw that into the episode. You're
Yeah.
listening to the Left Opposition podcast, by the way. On the
Yeah, you are.
on the program tonight, we're discussing archaeology and unions.
Yeah.
Two things that you might think not go together. Joining me tonight is Joe.
Hey,
How
hey.
you doing, Joe?
Oh, you know, it's
It's Friday. We made
this
it.
country's collapsing around me, but I guess I'm fine. Just
All right. So, yeah, Sean, welcome to the program. Let's get started. So, I just talked a little bit about my perspective and kind of like, a theory from a Marxist revolutionary perspective on, just unionizing in general and how the relations of archaeology and how it evolved under capitalism. It went from, just something university professors did with, bored college students to uh, basically an industry that employs hundreds of people. And
Multi-million dollar industry. And in America, it's 10 times the size.
that's right. And so what? So these are some of the conditions that led to us being able to unionize. We would never be able to unionize if it was like relic hunters, guys with metal detectors, right? What do you think makes this made it so special, and why did okay? Let's just start at the beginning. How did this get started, and
How
then
did,
how did you get involved?
well, archaeology to some people, archaeology sounds very exotic. Wow, I can't believe you do that for a living, blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, it's so comparable to so many other industries. Um, it's so comparable to, I bet you your job, to our listeners, to anyone listening, you'll see some common things, right? You get up in the morning, there's an alarm clock, you go do labor, or you do technical skill. Both of those things happen often in field work and archaeology. And then you go home exhausted, eat something, go to bed, do it again, right? Um, our job is backboned by clients. People need an archaeological assessment to build something, just like you need an environmental assessment. It's perfectly normal and acceptable to everybody, all the way to our parliament, all the way in the States there to Washington. If you want to build something, well, let's make sure we're not getting rid of like endangered species. Let's make sure we're not poisoning the water. Let's make sure we're not erasing the history of this fair land that we live in. See? So archaeology is all part of that. And so we're a bunch of workers in the field taking care of this for companies. There's very few people at the top of any given archaeology company. There's mostly field workers doing a lot of the excavation and the recording of all that stuff. And so what you get is a very smaller, it's a triangle like all hierarchies, lots of people at the bottom, very few people at the top. And those needs of the workers, lower paid people, especially field staff, were not being met, and not being met for years and years and years. In 2005, I was getting paid $10 an hour, which is far from a razzle dazzle wage, with no pension, no benefits, seasonal job. You're laid off for 4 or 5 months of the year, sometimes even 6, depending on how rough the contracts get. And so, yeah, you eke out this existence. And what we're talking about here generally is young people with a degree in archaeology. Is by and large they have a university degree in this. They've worked really hard to get to where they are in the world of archaeology, and then they're rewarded with a very mediocre wage, no pension, no benefits, no future worth mentioning, a comfortable future. Let's put
Yep.
it that way, right?
I've worked with
And
I work with guys with PhDs.
sure, yeah,
A PhD sometimes takes like 7 years, and
they are the angriest among us.
and here they are bushwhacking in Ontario.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So, education value versus wage value, that's something we can get into. So that's complicated, but at the end of the day, it's not meeting people's needs. And this has been true for years and years and years. And so it was always said we should unionize, but as we all know, people aren't educated on what unions are. They're left just to the rhetoric and the chitter chatter that they hear from their families, from their co-workers themselves, and from the general public in the news and things like this in the media. And so people don't really understand what labor law is, what their rights are. They don't understand that unionization is a way to empower workers to take control of your careers, to have a voice that's equal to your bosses is something that's alien to most workers. And so it took a long time for any archaeologist to be like, let's call a union and find out what it's all about, right? Right. So a guy we know phoned Leuna for a number of good, smart reasons, but phoned Leuna. And Leuna at that time says to him, okay, thanks very much for talking to us. We'll get back to you. And so there's the first thing I want to point out when we talk about the unionization of archaeology. And this is true for anyone listening out there who's thinking about organizing and maybe joining a union. A good union will pause there. It's not just, yeah, sign up, right? You really want to stop and think, and the union needs to stop and think too. And what Leuna was doing at that time, we just didn't hear from them for 2 or 3 weeks. And so we were like, I don't know. They'll call us back, maybe,
Get
you
back
know?
in the dirt, man.
Yeah, yeah. Well, they
Get
did
back.
though. They did call us back, and they spent that time producing a binder, maybe 3 to 4 inches thick, of research of every single company in archaeology, every CRM company, all the bosses, like all the names of the ownership and the leadership, and all the money that went in through all the everything that's publicly accessible. This massive research package of our sector, of the archaeology sector in Ontario. Called us up, said, "Come on back down to the office." So we did. Plops this giant binder on the table. It's too much information. It's everything possible. Who's licensed? What level of license are they? Where, all this information across the entire province. And it was explained to us at that time, um, an organizer, a very, very amazing older organizer that had been doing this forever. And so he said, "Listen, Sean, we don't know anything about archaeology, but I do know about a lot of other trades, and I'm going to tell you what we think about this." And so he compared us to the roofers. What's archaeologists and roofers have in common, right? And as it turns out, everything, right? Companies that are massive with multiple locations and multiple vehicles, massive amount of
Yep.
field work, people going out and doing the job, smaller amount of administrative staff, doing the money side of things and the contract side of things,
Workers with
right?
criminal backgrounds. Yeah.
Workers with multiple criminal backgrounds. Absolutely, yes. Probably under different names too. It's wild. So yeah, he says that they were non-union and they unionized. The sector unionized. Where now 90% of the province was now unionized under LiUNA. Uh, and so what happened there? Well, now all of a sudden the roofers' wages went up strong and stayed up there. They didn't get a raise and then next year, well, we can only give you 20 cents this year,
Yep.
or go down to $2 an hour, take it or leave it, buddy, we can replace you. No. So their wages went up in a fair, quote unquote, way and stayed there, locked in, right? Pensions, benefits, it became a career instead of a job, right? They really professionalized the entire industry because they all signed cards and joined the union. So we says that's a good idea. We should do that too, right? And so begins a long process of Aaron and I and many other people walking around talking to other workers, right? Discussing the value of it, answering questions about it. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
getting people comfortable, right?
I met people in parks on rainy days
Yeah,
because they wanted to meet somewhere where bosses might not see them.
yeah, absolutely. A lot of that,
A lot of
right?
pubs, a lot of pubs too.
A lot of, you don't
Oh,
you don't
yeah.
want to be known that you were talking to somebody about this, right? Which is another big point to make about labor rights in Canada, labor rights in the US. I don't care where you are in the world. You have labor rights. You should never slink around talking about them. You should be very proud to speak openly about your rights as a worker, wherever that is. There's no repercussions that should ever happen because of that. Shame on someone even trying, for example, right? So, yeah, we snuck around having a lot of quiet conversations with small and large groups for about 2 years before cards started really getting signed. We win,
Damn.
each company signing enough cards to get to a vote, unanimous, like massive wins, not just 51% wins, right? These people wanted this.
Yeah.
And now today, leading up to today, about 70 to 80%, roughly speaking, of the workforce in Ontario is a union archaeologist, right?
Right on.
Yeah.
So I would say there were a number of factors that convinced me to sign it because you remember I was very hesitant and very skeptical of this.
Oh,
You
smart
answered,
people have a lot of questions,
you,
Aaron.
you answered
That's
every
the
one of my
facts.
questions.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about this. I was not involved in anything like this before or since. I would say this was one of the hardest things I've ever participated in. It was tough. I don't know about you. It was very clear for you, Sean. But I was working for a small company, and I actually had a very good relationship with my boss at the time. I
Mhm.
considered her a mentor and a friend, and
I highly respect your boss from those days today.
this 100%. I have nothing but
100%.
I have nothing but good things to say about it. But like this
Me
really
too.
did. It felt like a betrayal, and
Yeah, right.
and
Dude,
that
I
was
think
it. And
that's how a lot of my coworkers felt. I have failed twice to unionize Well, I guess 3 times, 2 at one place, 1 at the other. But
Sure, okay. Yeah.
but yeah, I mean that's what you get a lot of the time, and it's like, people don't realize that. Well, you don't have to hate the guy personally. Like that's not what it's about.
All
You
the, all
can.
the cliques
That's
and
fine
groups
too.
and
but-
yeah.
we tried to pitch it as like look, like you are always crying about how there's no money to be made in this. You can't give us raises and you can't do XYZ. Like you want to give us benefits and health and stuff, but like all we get is wages. I didn't even have a contract. I just got a paycheck every 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's wild.
Nothing. There was
It's
no I didn't
absolutely wild.
I didn't get a raise for like 3 years, 4 years.
Yeah, right. Right.
I'm working the same wage. And so you convinced me. It's like, okay, you know what? This is the wind. This is the way the wind is blowing. Let's get on board early, and that way we can set the standard. That's how I pitched it. It didn't work, obviously. Like, still catastrophic.
I learned a lot
um,
about having those unionized conversations, those organizing conversations.
Yeah, but like
know.
talking to the boss / your friend, right? It's very, very awkward. Like I could see it'd easily be done at our old companies like Golder, Acom, that sort of thing.
Sure, sure.
That would, oh, man, that would have been so much fun.
Well, me today would have very different conversations
I
than
think
me
so too.
back then.
Yeah,
you
I
know.
think we learned a lot.
I've learned so
but-
much, right?
Something that studying, being involved in labor since, and watching other labor struggles very closely, we hear that a lot of the same stuff over and over again.
Oh yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
There's no money to be made, and so we can't pay you. Right? How many listeners have heard this exact same thing? Well, I would love
Yeah.
to, but a union doesn't make sense because they just want your dues. And
Oh,
your
sure.
pay is going to go down. I heard
Yeah,
that.
you'll be in negotiations for months and then just end up with the
Years.
same raise we were going to give you. Like that's what our boss
Yeah.
told us.
Absolutely. These are all anti-union rhetoric.
Yeah.
Those
Well,
are
then-
actually the real common ones. Those are actually the ones that like today I have an answer for every single one of those questions. And I'm not like the best organizer in the universe, but I definitely for those basics, easy to shut them down. Right?
I got told, well, if you don't like your wages, go work for someone else.
Yeah.
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 So what do you say to that,
dude,
Sean? What's-
Dude,
No.
I wish I had brought this up
What
in the
could be
moment.
said?
Sorry to like bring non archaeologist shit in here, but like
No, it's labor stuff, man. Labor stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, I've had several meetings with like my manager and upper management and HR, about this because like I'm just annoying and I will just like drag them into a conference room and make them talk to me about pay and shit. Yeah, well, fuck, what was it? Like, what were you just saying? The pay,
Yeah, you go work somewhere else if you don't
go
like
work
this
somewhere
pay.
else. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what they told me, and that's what they told me. They were like, we're very upfront about it, and like you're free to work where you want to work, and I'm like,
That's
yeah,
true.
dude. You know what else they fucking told me is that our pay is based on what other similar businesses are paying. I was like, well, then what the fuck are you talking about? There's no
the
higher
competitive
wage place to
wage.
go to. Yeah, they're
Yeah,
like, no,
there is
we're
no high wage somewhere.
right.
No,
It's
we
like
got
no, we're
paid.
in the
Oh,
we're
absolutely.
all in the same shitty range, and you can choose, like not
That's
enough
right.
or a little
100%.
more
I would
not
hold
enough.
that. You're
Oh,
already
yeah.
paid. You're already paid above average in this industry.
Oh, the employers
Oh,
are brag. We're the highest paid wages in the country. And you look and it's 37 cents higher than everybody else for this moment. And then they fight over it. And yeah, it's
Well,
insane.
Well, the problem though is
Not that I don't appreciate employers raising their wages. So I'm just going to put that out there. Good job raising it, but let's do better.
here's the thing though, it's like they themselves set that ceiling, because what happens is the way our Ontario archaeology is set up is that we are mandated by various legislation, the environmental assessment regulations, the Planning Act, the Cemeteries Act, like all this stuff triggers archaeological requirements, and that makes it a mandatory service that we have to carry out. Now, what becomes of it is then it gets tendered out to different archaeology companies, and a bidding war ensues. So what happens when different companies have to bid on a contract, that puts downward pressure on wages.
Yeah, the race to the bottom.
It's a race to the bottom, exactly. And our whole goal was, well, what if we just raise the floor instead? That
That's
way
right.
you can continue your stupid bidding war, but then at the same time, it's like, well, at least now we have like a base pay that you can start us off at.
That's right. And one
Um,
that can't be moved. A floor to which none shall fall through. You see?
exactly.
Isn't that beautiful? I stole that
So-
from the Prime Minister of Ireland. He said that about social reforms. I'm like, you lovely old man.
so that was one aspect of that allowed us to unionize, is that this is a mandatory service under government legislation. The other couple of things that we came across as we were trying to come up with, what makes this union strong, is two other things. Was it can't be outsourced, right? You have to have like a field director like me. You have to be licensed in Ontario. You can't just bring in outside labor.
Government issued licensing.
You have a government issued and government regulated licensing.
Tiers
And
of it too. Research
can't
license,
just-
professional license. There's different tiers.
Yeah, sure. And you need a degree to get a license.
Mhm.
It's a decently high barrier to entry to carry out this field work.
It's a
You know,
big
you can-
barrier.
You can
yeah.
hire minions to come do your job, the actual digging, right? Any moron can dig a square, but like, you still need that government licensing. So it can't just be like, you can't just bring in truckloads of like, say, migrant workers to come do this job.
No doubt. No doubt. Although, honestly, it's okay for someone with zero experience to take up archaeology.
Oh, 1,000%. I will
Yeah,
absolutely teach you
you
how
know,
to do this job. Anyone can do it.
Absolutely. The thing about it is the willingness to learn and the passion for it is where the heart and soul of the
Yeah.
job actually is. And that's why we linger in a job that's been a real grind for the wages, for the, all of the things that we've put up with over the past decade and coming closer to
Yeah.
2 decades for me. It's been a tough slog, but you stick it out
Dude.
because you like the people, you like the work, you respect the work on all levels, right? Our employers, we respect our employers, believe it or not. So, it's everything. You got to love the whole picture,
This
right?
is my 19th field season.
Sure, yeah,
I've,
Yeah.
I've been doing this a long time.
for sure.
Damn.
And the other aspect, the third and important aspect, is because again we hear about how the unions in the 70s all got greedy and all of the manufacturing was shipped overseas. It's like, well, no, it wasn't the unions,
Yeah,
that was the
okay.
bosses that did that, for one. And secondly, that brings up another good point. Archaeology cannot be automated. AI will never replace a field worker.
No,
Yeah.
no, and shouldn't. There's no amount of speeding things up. If you're doing it fast, you're doing it wrong. You really
Man,
do
I-
need to
I-
take the time, right?
Yeah, I hate when rank and file workers send their own jobs overseas.
Yeah.
that's a shitty one.
Yeah, can you imagine Steve down at the widget plant and he just gets on the phone with India and he's like, "Yeah, can you just open up the 600 factories, please? Thanks. Cool."
Can you do this job for me? And this will like give us all a bunch of free time. I had a libertarian come into my chat once and argue that automation was good because it gives everyone free time. It's like, yeah, sure, no, I'll just pay my landlord in free time. Fucking dipshit.
As if it's Star Trek and you can just sit there pushing the replicator button for Doritos. Just-
Well, I've made videos about this, about how like if the people the story that's usually told is that like, oh well, Star Trek became the way, the society became that way because they invented the replicator and now you don't need to
Yeah.
fight over resources or whatever. I'm like, wait. But the fucking replicator is a resource that would be
Yes.
like gate kept with fucking money. Like if someone invented the replicator under capitalism, it would just be a thing you had to pay for. Like,
Of course, there'd be
Oh,
a
100%.
subscription.
That's why
Yeah.
they're so against like solar energy, because like they're worried about feeding energy back into the grid because they can't monetize it. Same thing with like, I'm skeptical about like, are we actually going to see a fusion reactor in our lifetime? Because if we do, you sure as shit it ain't going to provide free energy because
No.
you're gonna
Yeah.
have to pay for it.
No.
yeah, China will do
For
it.
sure.
They'll have
Oh,
free.
no, yeah,
energy.
you're right. No, yeah,
And
China,
we-
China with the most billionaires in the world will come save us.
I'm not going to hold my breath, guys. Yeah, so getting back to labor, look at the rhetoric again, something getting shipped overseas, you're the reading a lot of history about the labor movement here in Canada. It's very interesting when industries go bang, what happens to the workers. Right now, the crisis that we're facing in the news, you read it over and over, is AI replacing a lot of clerical, computer-related, research-related, writing-related jobs. And that's no joke. That is true. It's guaranteed going to happen. And so labor leaders, labor-minded people are caring about the big pictures of this stuff right now. Even in the world of archaeology, there is going to be an impact of people downsizing their companies because you simply don't need 8 people to write this thing that one TV NVIDIA box can now go ahead and just write. It's just a very small computer can now write this thing for you, and you don't need 8 people to hire 8 people, right? Um, Aaron's right though. When it comes down to field work, there's nothing that's ever going to replace a human being looking for other ancient human being
Yeah.
stuff, right?
And so it was those
Right.
three aspects: can't be outsourced, can't be automated, and it's a mandatory service.
Mm,
Those were very strong reasons of what gave us leverage, basically. Because
yeah.
if we put our shovels down and walk off site, what happens?
Well,
You're yeah.
as it turns out, Aaron, comparing us to any other industry made us look like chumps. And so that was also leverage that we had at the time. When we're talking to employers, which Leuna did speak directly to some employers, attempting a sort of a top-down approach to make them sort of feel comfortable about unionizing in the company, right? Meanwhile, the workers are signing cards and having these discussions, but at the end of the day, talking to employers is important too. And so basically comparing us to some of the lowest paid workers in the province, we look like chumps. Like we're a general laborer on a construction site, which to me is a very, very honorable job. I highly respect the construction sector. We're talking right now about someone with no education, no skills, wheelbarrow guy,
Yeah.
brick throwing guy, steel bending dude. Okay.
You're picking up nails off of it. Like I've done
Absolutely.
construction. You're like the dumbest things is
Absolutely.
you're
So
throwing insulation into a dumpster. Like
it's a very honorable profession, okay? And it's paid the least, right? Why is it paid the least? Well, it's unskilled, no education required, it's blah, blah, blah. You're just getting started. Maybe you're learning it. Maybe you're just new. So you get the base pay, you get the lowest thing. What we found when we did the organizing effort in archaeology is that compared to the lowest paid, no education at all required, no skill set required at all job, we were making less overall. We had no pension. We had no benefits at all.
nope,
We had
nothing.
we had no wage stability. There was no wage grid that you could see. In a non-union environment, as you know, usually people receive on their letter their hiring offer. It usually says something like, "You will be paid at the rate of $10.30 an hour." $10 an hour, actually, and then
Well,
that's
you
all
got
you know. You
you
don't
got
know
that
what the person next to you is making, and you don't know what your raise is next year or the year after that, for that matter, right?
you got that 30% premium because you were driving, right?
That's right. I was actually making $10 an hour, but because I drove the crews around hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of kilometers per year, I got an extra 30 cents an hour, which was really great
Damn.
because I went, well, no, I bought my second cottage because I could afford it now because I had my 30 cents,
You had
right?
all this
So
money lying around.
yeah,
Yeah.
so I don't know what to do with it all because it was 30 cents, right?
So, what was your breaking point, Sean? Like, what, like, when? Because I know Joe started it, our friend Joe.
Yeah, Joe
Um,
lit the fire. There's no doubt about that.
yeah, because like I remember he was saying he was out doing a fence check or you doing some monitoring on like a Sunday in February, freezing his ass off for 23 an hour,
Sure.
and there's some guy just happy as a clam banging in steel T-bars.
Oh yeah.
He's like, I'm on double overtime today. I'm making $60 an hour right now.
Yeah.
And he's like,
Doing snow fencing.
how the fuck are
That's
you
right.
making 60 an hour?
And that guy's response is literally, "Why do you do that job? It makes no sense that you would keep this thankless, low-paying, no pension, no benefits, no future job. Like you're a grown person, you need a real career." Yeah. And so I didn't have a breaking point, man. I started to really think about working life. It was actually a passion for me to just slowly, it was a slow grow because you learn things, right? What are your labor rights? What are you entitled to, right? What do you see in your employer when it comes to those labor laws, you always think that the Ontario Labor Acts and things like this protect you as a worker and give you some power as a worker. But then you start asking yourself, I'm a worker, there's my a company, my employer. Wow, that employer just did something that's not labor law. Well, they did it to me again. And now I'm seeing them doing it to this person. You start seeing those employers bending the rules, and you start thinking to yourself, well, what's the rules for? Like, and what is me? I'm a laborer. I've been working and I have no savings because I make nothing. Yeah, and so as far as inspiration to sign a union card or get involved with organizing and unions, it starts with just understanding that you have rights. And that's what happened with me, is I slowly started to put it together where I'm like, you know what? I have a right to have a future, to invest in myself. I have a right to have a voice about how much I make, about
Yeah.
how I do my job, all that stuff. Yeah, really slow, painful, weird lesson to learn because you're just trained. You're so ground into just like bootlicking. Where it's just like, if I kiss the boss's ass enough, how's this job? I love this job. Really?
Yeah.
You can still love it and have complaints.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was talking to a coworker on Saturday. And I think he's young. He's like 23, but like, yeah, we were just talking about like our job gets really busy this time of year. We rent instruments and sell like everything you need for music lessons and stuff.
Awesome.
And yeah, so like obviously like kids with school music programs are coming in to buy or rent cellos and violins and violas and all this stuff, and we ship all over the country. So it's like insane as when school's starting basically. But we were just talking about how we were behind on everything, and I had been working with my manager on this because I was behind on some stuff because they put too much on our plate, just expect us to do it, and it would that just catching up with the stuff was like the last thing she wanted to see before giving me this raise, which I got, which was cool. But she had fucking made me believe that I was the only one who's behind. It was basically like,
nice.
she was like saying it without saying it, and just sort of like letting me believe that like, well, it's everyone else gets it done, so I think you can't, and then I'm talking to this guy and I'm like, are you finding it like impossible to do everything they fucking make us do? And he was like, dude, we have to make calls every day for people who are like late on their rental and stuff. And he was like, dude, I have like 12 days of call lists in a folder that I haven't gotten to. And I'm like, this motherfucker's more behind than I was.
There it is.
Yeah. And we were talking about it because he was like, he said something like incredibly, cocked to like the boss mentality. And he was like, I would stay after to finish this stuff even if they didn't pay me. I just want to get it done. I was like,
what?
Yeah. I'm like, dude, like you deserve better than that though. And he was like, yeah, but I know, but like this is just how the labor market works. And I'm like,
Joe,
if we let it.
Let me give you a little tip, brother. I know we're not old friends or nothing, but next time someone says that to you, when you see them at work again, have this bottle of Cajun Spice and just be like, hey, man, this stuff is awesome. You're going to love this stuff. And they're like, oh, thanks. But it's actually to put on the fucking boss's boots while they're licking it.
Yeah, right.
So it's just, right? They don't know why you gave them Cajun Spice, but like, yeah, that's what you get. Enjoy that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sean chokes on his cigarette when he hears that.
Oh, buddy, I would work here. I would do this work if they weren't paying me. It's like, what are you talking about? This person's working on their second jet ski.
Yeah, I was trying to explain to him like, dude, why can't we decide like we're fucking experts at our job. Why can't we decide like, no, you know what? I need to take a couple hours overtime today because we're not done.
Yeah.
And like, if a plumber can decide that, well, like, why can't we? But
Indeed.
It's just, that's what you get with a lot of people is this like, well, that's how it works. Like, what are you going to do?
No. So
nothing we can do about it.
I love a story like
It's
this, man.
It's that learned helplessness. It's like, it's the best we got. What can we do?
It is. And the employer, the other employer in town is the same thing. You can't, there's nowhere else you're going to go to escape it. Right. A really interesting story, Joe, because it has a classic in it where you don't know what the other person next to you is making. You don't know if their workload is being met. You don't know any issues. In a lot of ways, that's respect, right? We always perceive it as we don't talk about money. We don't talk about what you make. It's a social nicety we have, right? At the end of the day, though, there's no transparency between the management and the worker. Now, managers have a right to not disclose the company's profits and ups and downs and all the dramas between the workers and things like that. It may even be called a little bit important because it could sow some serious confusions or whatever.
Yeah.
When a manager, for example, would talk deeply about the budgeting, perhaps a worker on the floor of the factory or somewhere might not understand it. They'll just hear some numbers and really misinterpret it because they're not professional budgeting managers. They don't understand that level of the job. So I do see why transparency is not required or necessary for all things. But when we talk about applying pressure to you, the worker, you need to speed up. Your workload is not being met, blah, blah, blah. It's almost wrong to say, well, prove it to me, boss. Can you imagine saying that? They'd be like, hit the bricks.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? I don't have to prove. I don't know you shit. You know, that kind of thing is a transparency and it's a respect thing. And so when we unionize, yes, we don't have the right to know the inner workings of a company. That is their business, right? And with all fairness, that's fine. But when you apply pressure on a worker, that's where we say, well, prove it, right? If you're going to make this person stay for overtime, or opposite, you're going to deny this person overtime so they can get the amount of work that they could get done or whatever, well, there has to be reasons for that. And that's where your labor laws come in. That's where your labor protections come in, both with the union side of things and just the labor laws in general. You as a worker have a right to not get bullied and pushed around without reason. And so there's a clause in a lot of contracts, collective bargaining agreements, and also just working contracts that say reasonableness. It has to be reasonable, right? And unions often play that card because, quite frankly, a lot of employers will say or ask or do things that are unreasonable. You're behind on your work. You're like, well, give me overtime. They're like, you're not approved for overtime. It's like, okay, well, should I grow a third arm? Like, how could I possibly placate you, Your Highness?
Yeah.
Just anecdotally, one of my coworkers got in trouble for going into overtime on a project that wasn't budgeted for overtime, and then I talked to his steward about it. He's like, "Well, then I guess we're working 4-day weeks."
Yeah, it's you can't have both. Which one do you want, right?
Yeah, my drive time is included. And you're gonna schedule me like 2 hours away from my office, like then I'm getting paid for that.
Absolutely, and the archaeology sector is rife with you're not approved for overtime, but we want all this work done, but they won't hire the size of crew necessary to get it done in the time.
Yeah,
so they said that 4 people are supposed to do this massive dig, this huge dig with 4 people.
Every project, for some reason, is like 187 minutes away.
Like, yeah. Also, it's far, right?
Fucking far,
and it's 46 degrees in the shade. So, like, what do you want? I'm not a robot. I'm really sorry, I'm not a robot. If I could just, be a robot, your life would be so much better, right?
Yeah, but then that's automating the job. And
that's what they want, right? When they have that, when they talk like that.
Something that like literally every worker needs to learn too is that this company cannot function without you.
Yes.
Right.
Absolutely.
Their profits are derived from your labor.
Yes.
I've seen my company like understaffed in several departments for a long time. So it's like, when they say, well, your job's very replaceable. I don't know.
No.
It seems like it's not as replaceable as you might think.
Well, or they might suggest, we can't find the right people. We can't find enough hirees. And yet at the same time, you can be replaced, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No one thinks to apply for an archology job.
Well,
dude, like I have so many coworkers that are like, I didn't think this was a real job. I just applied because it looked interesting. And I'm like, there's no way they'll call me back. And they're like, well, do you have both your arms? Okay, yeah, please come out.
Yeah, wow. You have a pulse and a shovel. Here you go.
Here you go. Try not to die.
For sure. Well, so a good employer and a good union find value in both, right? And that's what I hope we see within LiUNA, our union, and the archaeology sector in Ontario, is I'd really like to see our employers respecting the workers and the workers respecting the employers. Our employers are the unsung heroes of the labor movement. And it's such a ridiculous thing to say because that's all labor movement ever does is push against employers. But employers are the other half of this picture, and they can be very pro-labor if they so choose to, right? And that doesn't mean giving everybody ridiculous raises and driving the company out of business and not meeting your shareholders' needs. It doesn't mean that. But it definitely means making sure that workers' needs are being met and you stick to the agreed terms of your contract is some fundamentals, right? That to me is the ground floor. You're not a very good employer if you're not doing those two things, right? Um, that's what I like to see. I like to
Sure.
see employers that they always say we listen to our workers, right, Joe?
Right.
Isn't that right, Aaron? We always listen. We listen to our workers.
Oh yeah, yeah.
We value your feedback, all this kind of stuff, right?
Door's always open.
Doors always open. Absolutely. Good cliche. We should have a drinking game of all those cliches.
Fuck,
Absolutely.
man, I miss our drinking games.
Oh my God, but at the
We
end
used
of
to
the
play a
day,
game. We used to play a game on site. Me and Sean. Every time you get micromanaged, you have to buy a beer.
yeah, and Aaron would provoke it. He'd call somebody over, a supervisor, and be like, "What do you think of this?" And then it would start happening, and Aaron's face, he'd look up and be like, like,
Do
is it,
this. I'm like, I'm
it's
at 4.
happening. So good. So good. Yeah, well, at the end of the day, you need management to wake up to the labor movement. And that's really where we're at a disconnect right now more than ever before in my history, in my lifetime, is that we see these vast, really wealthy people. Archaeology is not one of them, by the way, but we see these massive companies exploiting labor, right? And what's happening? The labor is not, their needs are not being met. And that's a big blanket statement, but for some people, it means a really great benefits package because they need a lot of meds. They have 4 kids that need a lot of dental. For other people, it means a pension. They really want to be comfortable enough when they retire, so they need access to be able to make that strong, that part of their life strong. For a lot of young people, as we both know, it's just a strong wage. They just want a lot of money so that they can pay for their apartment, so they can go for some beers and order some Uber Eats and have the lifestyle that isn't eating ramen with 6 roommates and that kind of thing, right? Yeah, they want to improve the quality of life, the immediacy side of things, right? And so those are all the workers' needs. And then so is your employer meeting those needs? Well, yeah, each of us can answer that. You know what I mean? Some can say in some ways yes, in some ways no. It's like, oh, well, that's interesting. What parts aren't being met? And how do we fix that, right? My solution, Aaron's solution, what worked in the past for us, and it's been a slow burn. It's still not where we want it, but it has been unionizing, has been organizing workers in order to have a stability in our jobs that we never had before, right? So baby steps, but we're getting there.
I will say, like, ever since I get regular pay raises, I get my
Predictable.
my meds are all covered. I pay $1 dispensing fee at the pharmacy
Jeez.
for hundreds of dollars worth of medication.
Absolutely.
The pharmacy has my card. I don't have to do any paperwork. I just pay $1 and I moonwalk out of there.
Yeah.
My
Our benefits
partners-
packages are currently something like 50 something bucks a month. The employer pays about 150 a month.
My partner's asthma meds are $2,200 a month.
Mm-hmm.
Not a dime out of pocket.
No doubt.
For the first time in my life, I am not lying awake at night, spiraling, and panicking about money,
No doubt.
and that's because of this union.
Yeah.
That's
Absolutely it
that's
is.
what I'll say about it.
Absolutely it is. And we I of course am a big Blue Unit supporter, but I support labor. There's a couple unions I would advise people to think twice about signing up with, but by and large, if you're organized, if you are under a union of any kind, you're in a much better place, I promise you, right? Celebrate all organized labor for sure.
Hell yeah.
So
do you guys have sectoral bargaining there? Is that what you were saying? Or was it just like setting the standards for unions?
it's
in the
each
field?
company right now is each company individually bargains, I believe.
Yeah, and you can keep
Okay.
it that way as well, but we have the option in Ontario. Perhaps in the States, it's similar as well. You can organize, you can have a collective bargaining agreement that is province-wide. So a provincial, that's the CBA that looks over everything, and then employers have their own individual ones to meet the needs of those places, right? Our nurses have that. There's a sort of a central collective bargaining agreement, and then there's smaller ones for each employer to just the finer details. But the central one stands across the province, everything. Archaeology is not there. Would we go there? Don't even know.
I'd like to get there one day. I just want to. I want to have a set pay rate across the board.
Yeah,
That way, if I
I'd
ever
like to be
have to
true.
job hop or whatever, and I also want to make subcontracting a little more easier across the board. Like
Mhm.
if one company's hurting, we can just bring them out to my site. I got
Mhm.
1,000 squares. I got to come out.
Absolutely, absolutely. And this is something I talk to when I talk to non-union workers in archaeology in our sector in Ontario. I say things like that. That's not possible currently, but it's a vision of the future, right? It would greatly benefit employers. Our employers would love that as well. To be able to move techs around from different companies would be a fantasy of theirs. As long as the workers' needs are being met, I have no problem with that, right? Uh, so, uh, yeah, it's been a wild ride to get to where we are today. Things like Aaron just suggested is a huge improvement. I have a list as long as my leg of things I want to see improved, and they're
Oh
not really aimed at
well,
my employer specifically. That's the funny thing is I'm just big picture stuff, right? Right now, for example, we don't have the right to strike. In our contracts, it says right there, there's no striking. Now, when
Wow.
we're in negotiations, when our contract expires and we're negotiating our new contract, that doesn't apply, and we can legally strike, which is you apply to the labor board, they approve it. Now it's a legal strike, quote unquote, right? Um, so taking away the right to strike is very serious as far as the labor movement is concerned.
yeah.
Everybody deserves the right to strike. It's a massive tool in a union's toolbox, and it's very important. And so I want that gone from all these companies immediately. I want to get the right to strike. It's not necessarily going to do it, to me, it's just one of those picture like a gag order in a contract where it says, you will not talk to anyone about the business. You will not talk to anybody about anything. These gag orders that happen in contracts, workers' contracts, it's the same kind of thing where it's a very, very serious thing.
Yeah.
Like it's not to be taken lightly. So to sign up initially, that's what we did. It's been a couple CBAs now. It's time for that to go. This sector deserves
I'd
the right
like
to
to
strike.
see
We're not doctors.
I'd like to see open bargaining as well. I like to see
Oh,
I want a bit more transparency with the rank and file. Like I don't want to be shown a
absolutely.
contract and then at like 10 o'clock at night and then say you have 18 hours to vote on this.
Yes, absolutely.
That's
And
ridiculous.
it's important for rank and file workers to have those meaningful discussions about each aspect of the contract. This is their contract. It's theirs, it's mine too. And
Yeah,
so it's
this is
important to
set in,
talk about it,
this
right?
is in stone for the next 3 years. Like
Yeah.
we need time to look over this.
Yeah, and quite frankly, every 3 years, I'm amazed that I'm still alive at all. So it's a long time. 3 years is a long time, right?
Well, our
Um,
last episode we talked about the Air Canada strike. They are coming off of a 10-year contract.
oh, whoa, whoa, that's wild.
We were like,
Seriously,
who negotiated this?
why does any,
Insane. Yeah,
why is anybody okay with that?
yeah, man. You want to talk fucking working conditions? The flight attendants, what they have to deal with.
Oh
They
yeah.
don't get. They're not on the clock until the plane's like moving. All the
Yeah.
safety checks, all the passenger seating, all the kicking out of passengers who like light up a cigarette,
Oh,
all,
absolutely.
all the people who shit themselves,
That's
hosing down
insane.
the bathroom. Like
I
that's
was
all
just
unpaid.
thinking the smell in there.
Oh
It's
God,
gotta be.
I miss smoking on planes. Okay, I'd like to bring that back.
um. So so I've had this pushback now from two different companies, two different managers who resent the framing of they're like, okay, I can kind of I can see where you guys are coming from. I understand that a union might benefit you. We resent you guys talking about us exploiting you.
Mm,
I don't like that term exploitation.
it's a
And I'm
strong
like
word.
I'm like it that's
Then
that's
stop doing it.
Oh, oh,
Like,
um originally I didn't know what to say about that. Because originally it's like, well, boss number one, you just paid off like your second house while your workers are living in ant-filled apartments.
that's right. In groups.
Like I'm sorry, like you cannot have done that without us. That is exploitation. Whether I don't care how nice it is. I don't care how
Yeah,
nice you are. Our relations under capitalism is exploitation of workers produces profits. That's
sure.
it. there's
Yes.
nothing you can do about it. And second boss, I framed it a little more nicely. I was like, well, that's just the reality of labor. That's how labor works. It's a material world, and we are material girls.
That's right. That's right.
Karl Marx.
Karl Marx.
Thank
is
you,
a-
Mr. Marks.
This is a Marxist podcast, so like I would even go as far as to say like, if archaeology is so important and if it's so unprofitable, well then it should be nationalized and done as a government service, like the post office. Like I think I and then that would give us a lot more like leeway. We don't have to worry about fucking budgets anymore. You just do the job and it gets and we get paid. And then we get more democratic control over the workplace. Indigenous people have more democratic control over job sites, that sort of thing. That's where I would go. I would also like to see, in terms of workers' control over the workplace, not ownership, by the way. That's a very different thing. I'm not a huge fan of things like, like worker co-ops.
No,
Can you imagine a worker co-op archaeology firm?
I've interacted with a couple co-ops this year, and they went union. They're coming from a co-op situation, and so I got to talk to them. Oh, tell me about that. I did some organizing directly, and so I had the time to talk with people and meet people across Ontario. So the co-op that they had is, I really like worker co-op because you have workers coming together to discuss labor, to discuss their jobs, and what is their strengths in trying to really push, forward for something better as a group. Isn't that nice, right? That's a really good idea. But it lacks the strength of unions because unions have a whole body of law to stand up for them, whereas co-ops are kind of just nice meetings that you can have, right? At the end of the day, you still just have the labor laws of the day that protect you, but they're pretty paper thin, right? Whereas unions have bodies of law that respect and protect workers in a way that cannot be compared to any co-op, right? And so for anyone out there in a co-op, I would simply say, awesome. So I'll tell you what, let's talk about labor law a little deeper now. Let's talk about what unions have that co-ops don't and see if maybe you would like to take it to another level, and how to maybe best do that, right?
Okay, so I have a question then. How would a unionized co-op work? Who are they bargaining with?
Well, there's no bargaining. Co-ops are not unions, and so they're not under obligation to bargain. Instead,
No,
what you
my
have is a nice chat, right?
yeah, like this is my problem though with co-ops is that like you're not ending the exploitation, you're just redistributing the exploitation. The exploitation still exists. If you
Kinda.
want if you want to raise, well then okay, if we want a pay raise, we have to raise more profit. Well, how do we raise more profit? Well, we got to work harder and longer. Or we hire more people to do more labor, which then splits all the so-called profit that's coming in.
Yeah.
So it's like you run into these problems.
It's
with,
just
with
group
co-ops.
capitalism.
Yeah, exactly.
Kinda.
And it's not what we're about on this. This is the Marxist podcast. We're all about nationalization, democratic workers' control, and ultimately revolution into socialism. And I think there are transitional steps that we can take. Another thing that a fellow that we're a big fan of on this podcast named Leon Trotsky talks about in his transitional program that the debits of companies need to be like open to the workforce. I would like to see the financials of the company. I want to see where this money's coming in from and where it's going. Right.
Oh yeah.
My go-to example, Sean, when you told me about my company spending like 50 grand to copyright a font,
Yeah.
I'm like, you know what? I think workers should have some fucking say in that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or where did that money come from?
And where did
Right.
it go?
And where did it go? Yeah. Yeah. Now,
Cotton Eye Joe.
company's money is their money. That's capitalism.
Well, it's our
for
labor
ya.
that produced it.
Right?
That's all I'm
I
saying.
know,
It's like,
but once
we
it's
should have a say in how it's spent.
well, I think at the end of the day, Aaron, what we have a say in is our labor. That is our power, right? It starts there. And so you're not getting my labor unless I get a fair deal. You're not going to be afford that $50,000 font if I refuse to do my labor, right? See, if I don't labor for you. right? And so you really have to have a big picture mentality right from the start on that. You have to be able to say, wait a minute, I think this company's about to spend $50,000 on a font. Maybe I should withhold my labor until I get a fair chunk of it, or should, it's hard to see
Yeah,
the
I
future,
just
but
I just think a little more transparency I think would go a long way as well.
transparency does go a long
And
way. And
that creates trust in your okay, like, the workforce can trust that the bosses are telling the truth.
yes,
You can't afford to pay us? Okay, well let's open the books. And then maybe let's see what we're working with.
sure.
You're either lying or you're incompetent.
Yeah, well, you don't even have to open the books. You don't owe me the numbers because that's your company. That's the situation we're in today, of course, right? But I do, when you say I can't afford to give you overtime. You're not approved for overtime. It's a very classic thing for a lot of workers out
Yep,
there, right?
all the time.
So in a non-union environment, you just have to say, okay, I guess
Well,
I'll work harder to get it all done,
I'll
or
just work.
whatever it is.
I'll just work these
Yeah.
60 hours and be
Or
paid the
work
flat
for
rate.
free. Oh yeah, as little Steve down at the widget shop, and he's out there making widgets for free for his last 2 hours of the shift because he's just trying to catch up. He's just trying to be a team player, right?
Or
Whereas
like,
unionized
dude, like
environments, right?
in our situation, the fucking sun's going down,
Yeah,
and we got to get that one last unit out of the ground.
got to get it out of there. That's right.
We're putting 60 hours a week in, and like
That's right. But we're
I
not
don't
doing it
like.
for free.
Did we ever did we ever see time and a half on those?
No, there's lots of ways to dance around it, like banking your overtime hours and things like this, right?
Oh no, that was
You
for
know.
full timers. That was for the full time staff. They could bank their overtime. I
And
don't
then
think
you
we ever
have
got that.
tiers of workers that are entitled to it and tiers that are not, and right, it's absolute madness, right?
Great.
Union environments, however, hold employers accountable for the benefit of everybody in society. It seems like it's anti-management, but it's not. When we say I'm not approved for overtime, but you really want this done, okay, well, the worker would say, but I don't have enough time to get it done if you don't give me the overtime. Now, there's a problem. This is common in every workplace. It doesn't matter what it is. God knows in nursing, especially, it's wild, right?
Yeah.
So if you're not approved for overtime, but they still want it all done, you got a real issue there. Now the management's going to be like, get it done or you're fired kind of style, or apply pressure to you in that way. Get it done or there'll be consequence, right? Whereas in a union, we would say, well, what's justify the consequence? Or your threats mean nothing. Your
Yeah.
threats mean nothing if you can't back that up. And so there's the big difference. A non-union person would be like, I guess I'll just have to stay late. Whereas a union person would say, I guess you're going to have to pay me for my labor, right? No way around it, right? Um, Employers that have a problem with that, I really need them to do some soul searching because doesn't that make a lot of sense that someone should owe you for your labor? It's just, anyone who's like, geez, I can't believe unions would, do that. It's like, come on, this is really, really basic stuff here. Someone, you want them to stay late, but you don't want to pay them. You don't want to pay them time and a half because they're over the time that you said in the contract you said you do, that the labor laws say you do.
Yeah.
It's wild, right? It's wild out there.
Yeah. Or it's like I work 4 days and you're done. You go home. Guess what? Like you don't get to work. You don't get to work the rest of the week because we don't have any budget. So too bad. You don't get to work a full week. So
No,
here's your 40 hours and fuck off.
your budget is your problem, but you're making it my problem.
So what are some of the methods that we've encountered by employers who pushed back on a union drive?
Like anti-union stuff,
Anti-union
trying to-
stuff, because I guarantee, like, the reason why I wanted to
Union
have you on and talk
organizing
about
busting.
this is our Labor Day special.
Yeah.
By the way, I'll have this out for Labor Day, easy. Is and what I'm hoping our listeners get out of this is that like these are like the Venn diagram of archaeology union tactics and anti-union and everyone else's anti-union tactics. Is like a circle. It's a flat circle.
Mhm.
When we first started organizing, we joked about making a bingo card. Here's all the things your boss is going to say to you, and then the workers start putting stickers on like all the phrases.
For sure.
Of like, woe is me. There's no money. You're already paid above average. It's like,
Oh,
well, when the average is like $10.30, then yeah, that still doesn't help me. So some of the anti-union tactics that I can remember, a lot of it is guilt. It's like, how dare you? we're just a small business. There's no money. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I
We're
was
like a
going to give
family.
you, I was going to give you guys a raise. We were going to talk about profit sharing.
Yeah,
but,
right.
but then the big bad union came along and brainwashed you guys. And it's like, no, we're the union. Like what? That's
Yeah,
us.
right.
Um, another anti-union tactic I remember was one company just sent out a giant email in all caps saying "Vote no."
Yeah, good one.
God.
Right.
And it was this big long email about how like unions are bad. They just want your money. You know, they're not gonna do
Yeah.
anything for you. We're the ones to take care of you. And then like every single line was a violation of labor law, right?
Yeah, yeah. Then the union
Yeah.
immediately just be like, "All right, here's the lawyers are looking at it, and it's all over. You're not allowed to do that." You know.
Yeah,
No,
our
no,
boss
yeah.
told us he flew in from the Cayman Islands, by the way. Um,
Oh,
took
Okay.
time out of his like chilling on the beach.
took time out of like just fanning himself.
Yeah,
like
With
the
money.
dude lives in the
like
fucking
like
Cayman Islands.
like
Like-
Krusty the Clown's banker.
Yeah,
Should have said he's a customer.
but he told us that we're not allowed to talk about unions, like on company
at the workplace.
premises.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good one.
that's not fucking
That's
true.
That's a classic one, and it's funny you bring that up because we faced a big one with that as well. Same thing, and the union immediately told us, no. As long as the work is getting done, you have the right to
Right.
talk about anything you want at work, unless it's discrimination, racist, things that are you don't talk about because you're an asshole. You shouldn't say these things, you know. Yeah, but they're like, absolutely, you can talk about unionized stuff at work. And so I was actually
Yeah.
written up for it. I was actually some workers were anti-union. They're trying to. I'm not even going to speculate. They just were pro-management, anti-union at the time. And so they wrote me up. They went to HR and said this guy, and HR is like, what can we do about him? Oh, well, if it's bothering you, we can we can bring him in and write him up for it. And at the end of the day, no, that went away immediately. The moment they tried to do that, the union said, no, he can do this, and here's the law, and they had to back off, right?
Nice.
Yeah.
I do recall, yeah, one worker running to management saying like, "Hey, they made me sign this card."
Mm,
She got rewarded with like a permanent full-time job in
Yep.
the health and safety department. Your favorite.
my favorite. I love
Jesus.
safety so much. It's the most important job in any industry. Nobody gets more done per day than safety inspectors and safety analysts. No one.
He's being sarcastic, by the way, Joe. I don't know
I,
if you
I
got that.
figured, yeah. That's great.
These guys come out to site and like count the number of pylons and then just like fucking write you up.
Dude, you're not wearing
Sick.
your safety glasses. I'm in a cornfield. I don't need to wear safety glasses. But it says
Hey,
here on
hey,
this
those
paper
kernels
you
go
need to wear
flying.
safety glasses. Oh, I know. It's wild. You're wearing a hard hat in a bean field. What the fuck are you all about, bud? Uh,
Yeah, dude, we've been fighting that for fucking years. We're not gonna win that fight.
I win it every time I refuse to do it. And they're like, "Well, get off the site." I'm like, "Thanks." I don't care. I don't need your stupid fucking hard hat. Listen, let's get back to the
Oh,
union
right.
rhetoric, right?
Yeah,
This
so
is super important, right? There's really
yeah.
two tiers of it. There's the type of anti-union stuff that's very basic and base, and you can almost just search Google, give me 10 things to tell workers not to unionize. And you can find these dirty anti-union websites that say the dumbest things, like, we were gonna give you a raise, but the union, you have to pay dues, the scary dues, and it's gonna take so much of your money. Oh my God, right? There's some really usual ones, but then there's smart ones. There's another tier of anti-union stuff that's intelligent. And so union busters will organize anti-union people. So in any given company, let's say you do have a couple bootlickers. I mean, people that are really pro-management, people that are really
Generally about
pro-company,
20 to 30,
right?
30 to 35% of your coworkers will fight against this.
Yeah, and so
Yeah.
but there's a couple people who are charismatic. They'd be what we call leaders, right? And so what they do is they inspire other workers to think like them. And so anti the union busting management will encourage that person and give them the tools and the time and the space in order for them to have those conversations with as many people as possible and feed them secret information that no one else knows. And so they walk around and say, did you know next April they're going to give us a $2 raise? Yeah, but if we unionize, it ain't going to happen. Like feeding them little tiny things, right? So that leader who is respected in the workplace, who's has a lot of friends there who people listen to them.
Mm.
They walk around saying this stuff. So that's a higher level of anti-union, union busting, you
I've
know.
We
never
had
heard of
one
this.
of
This is
those.
awesome. This is good
we
shit.
we had one of those. We had a collaborator, and I didn't know, like, I didn't know everything you just said, but as you're saying it, I'm like,
Yeah,
that's what she
nice.
fucking did. That's what happened.
That's right.
Like,
Nice. So tell me, how'd it go? How did
Oh,
it go down?
it was I mean, the second time, like, we had one kind of botched attempt a couple of years ago, and then I brought it up again to someone, and they told the collaborator, and then she went back to, but like, um, what happened was, like, she was like, she kept coming to us being like, people are nervous because of the way that you're approaching this, the tone that you have, and you're too, like, anti-management, and you know, all, yeah, it was just all of that. And it was just like, literally, like, we kept being like, all right, we'll just have the most, like, sunshine and rainbows approach we can, and like
That's
that just
right,
kept
yeah.
being the thing, though. It's like, you can't talk like that. That's too
That's right.
intense.
Aggressive, intimidating, right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
For sure.
Like,
Because
so,
I'm having an uncomfortable conversation means that I'm being aggressive or I'm being
Right.
intimidating,
Right.
right? Yeah.
But yeah, and so it's like, you know, we figured out that she was meeting with management after a while, and then we ended up with she and she kind of just, like, at one point she was just like, I'm doing this, and just, like, somehow just let the air out for, like, a bunch of people who were on the fence, and then it
Okay.
was just done. And then after that, she, with management and HR, formed an employee council that's met 3 times in 3 years.
What is
like-
what is that? What is that?
It's where you get in a room with HR and management, and, like, they say, you know, like, you can make suggestions, and they'll say no to all of them. And
Yeah, right. We have in our contracts we have labor management committee meetings. It's part of our contract obligations we have with our employers.
Yep.
Uh,
We just had one this week.
Yeah, and so workers, representatives, usually the stewards of a company, will take suggestions from the workers and then bring it to the table, and they have conversations, and management can say yes or no. Or you just discuss sort of the lighter side of business with them, right? The difference there is that it's not employer made. That is a union thing, right? And those come under different names. Labor Management Committee meeting is just one name for that, but it's usually in a lot of collective bargaining agreements. And so it's the worker's voice with management 2 or 3 times a year usually. And the thing about it, though, is that in those meetings, it's all legally obliged. When our employer says yes to our terms, when we bring something to the table, we want to stop working every other Sunday. It's killing us, right? And the employer says, okay, we'll stop doing that. They're under legal obligation to do so now, right? We keep running out of hand sanitizer, and it's really important for the workers. We're running out of it. Okay, we'll make sure that it's stocked. Oh, now it's legally obliged, and we'll take them straight to the labor board if they don't satisfy any of the things that they agreed to in this meeting. It's a contract of sorts, right? Now, on the workers' side, when management asks the workers from something and we agree to it, we must also do that, or they have legal strength concerning the issue, you see? But it's a very important thing. When the management creates a employee council, oh, we listen to our workers. We have this special meeting bubble that we make for you to voice your concerns, and we really care about your feedback and all that stuff.
Yeah, here's your free
There's
speech
nothing
zone.
contractual about it. There's no legal strength behind it, and therefore, who holds the power in that meeting? Strictly 100% management as usual, right?
yeah.
So it's nice
Yeah,
that they're taking the time to listen, to fly in from the Caymans to hear your voice for 30 minutes, but
yeah.
no, workers deserve real power, real
Right.
strength, and that comes from the law, right?
Yeah, that's what I tried to tell them, and I think, I think a lot of people, just the understanding of the structure is so poor, because I don't think people really even understand that, like, you have a different status than your boss. Like, you're not fucking in charge here. Do you realize that? Like,
That's right.
It seems so simple to us, but, like, people really are taught the opposite.
Oh, since
and-
birth, Joe. Since birth, we're raised to
Yeah,
like the
yeah.
kiss the ring. Kiss the ring
Yeah,
is what we're
right.
taught. That's
Yeah.
what we
Eat a
know
lot-
how to
eat-
do.
Yeah, you're gonna
We
eat a
know
lot
how
of
to do
crap,
that.
and you got to do it
Yep.
to get there. That's what my dad used to say.
That's
I have to eat a lot of crap too, and so will you. And it's like, all right, but
Nice.
yeah, no, and what was interesting is this employee council thing came along with when we got in-house HR. So what was happening was our like outsourced HR was going away for whatever reason, and our bosses decided to get in-house HR. I don't know if it was because we were unionizing. Maybe that had something to do with it. But this is what our friend, our collaborator friend, brought to people was that like, hey guys, we're gonna have in-house HR, so that's like kind of an advocate for employees. So why don't we see how that goes before we like go ahead with all this crazy union stuff?
That's
And I'm
amazing.
just like, but that's they're an agent of the company, and she's
Of
like,
course
so
they
are
are.
we. I'm like, what? No, what are you talking about? This is like, what?
Oh.
Jesus Christ! Like, I'm in charge in America too. It's demos kratos, right? Is the rule by the people. I'm in charge as much as Trump. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Every day you wake up, you're like, I can't wait to change this country.
Yeah.
So easy to do. No doubt. So what are we talking about here, guys? We're talking about a green unit. We're talking about people that are non-union, and how do you make them recognize their rights as workers, want to empower themselves by unionizing, or at least they want to improve their workspace. That's really what they know. They know that they want work to be better because it's not very good right now. That much they do know for sure, right?
Yeah.
So when you're green though, if you've never been a member of a union before, all you have is all that anti-union rhetoric that's out there. And you've grown up all your life hearing, "Oh, lazy union workers. How about oh, unions are corrupt."
Yep.
Right? Right now in Ontario, there's big accusations of Leuna siding up with Doug Ford. It's all on little comments here and there, and oh, unions are corrupt. They're all politicians' pockets and all this dirty stuff, and they're all organized crime and all this anti-union nonsense, right? And that's all they hear. That's all they know, right? And so when you're talking to someone as a green worker, someone who doesn't know what unions are, but is considering improving their workplace, and unions are an option for that, you see, most of organizing is listening. You really have to 80% you're
Yes.
listening. Tell me about your work. Tell me about your home life. If you want to share as much as your personal life, that's fine too, because it's all connected, right? And tell me about what the problems at work are. What would you like to see fixed? What are you trying to achieve here? Right? And so you have these conversations. That's a lot of listening. What's most important is that you tell the truth. As an organizer, any union organizer will tell you the number one thing you have to do is speak the truth. And so when someone says, I really want to screw my boss over, I really want to blah, 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 started down a negative path about what unions could do, you know, it's the wrong place to start from. It's the wrong, and you tell them that, right? When we talk about what can you do? Can union give me a $4 raise? Okay.
Probably.
No promises, because that's you negotiating your contract. When you're a union, you are the union, and you will be negotiating with your employer about your wage. And so it's about teaching them the fundamentals of it, and then giving them real world examples for them to see with their own eyes, because it's one thing to say it and it's another thing to prove it to them, right?
Yeah.
And so I always say, do you have any family members who are union? Right? This is actually one of my favorite questions for non-union people. People are angry about unions, they're anti-union. I say, "Oh, what'd your parents do for a living?" First question I have for them. They're like, "Oh, my dad's a teacher and my mom's a, librarian or whatever." I'm like, "Oh, yeah, are they union?" Yeah, he's in the teachers union. I'm like, "Well, your whole life is built on unions. What you have is because of a union, but you're so anti-union, you know?" But anyways, it's just you start by saying, well, you have an uncle in a union. Really? Okay, so what union is that? What does he do for a living? Okay, well, why don't you have a good conversation with him, right? Talk to him about his contract. Talk to him about what he can do at work versus not. So he's in a different line of work. He's not going to make the same as that person. It'll be different for you guys. But he'll be able to tell you when you had a problem at work, what could he do about it?
Mm.
What does his pension look like? Well, who organized the pension? Who set up the pension? How about the benefits?
Pension, what's
Where's the
that?
benefits set up from? right? Does
Yeah.
the union have something to do with the benefits, you know? And so now they're having, from a trusted source of an uncle, a family member, they're really hearing about what union life is like for them. And that's a really good chance for them to feel comfortable about having a deeper discussion about their own situation in a union, right? And this is, again, older me would do things very differently compared to the
Yeah.
archaeology sector back in the day. I
Um,
just simply didn't know these things,
our
right?
old friend Jerry brought up an interesting point when someone from another company said to him, "Well, we already have wages. We already have like benefits and a pension through our workplace. Why would I want to join a union?" And so his question was to them was, "Well, how many employees are at your workplace?" "Well, probably about 5,000 worldwide." They're like, "Uh-huh, okay." This union has like 800,000 members,
Yeah.
all pooling into a pension and medical stuff. We'll get you any medication at no cost to you. Like
You just said it's market share. It's just a buyer's power.
way
We
bigger
have
market share,
we have
buyer's
so
power,
much power.
drug price negotiation, that sort of thing. Like
Yeah.
5,000 versus like 800,000. There's no comparison.
There is none.
There's none.
And the overall quality of it, because when you're dancing at a level like that, now you can trust that you will be able to claim. It's not a small operation thing. It's a massive, classy, organized thing. The drug plan, the pension plan, right? Leona's pension plan is outrageous compared to almost any other employer in the country in Canada.
I just
Our
wish
pension is
I
outrageous.
just wish
you
our
know.
employer would put more into it. That's all.
Well, that's
I'm
comes
putting
to
like I'm putting like 25 cents in an
it co-
hour into my
it
pension.
comes
Like
to negotiations, man. You
it's got to
know,
be more. I'm gonna die, dude, when I retire from this.
Yeah.
that's right. That's right. You will.
Yeah, it's rough.
So you mentioned something. You said something earlier that struck a chord. Is that 80 to 90% of organizing is just listening.
Yes.
And as it happens, I went and saw Chris Smalls, founder of the Amazon Labor Union, talk at Ryerson University.
Nice.
A couple years ago. He said the exact same thing. It took him a year to unionize the first Amazon warehouse.
Right. Yeah.
It took him a year, and he said all he did was listen.
Yeah.
Listen to what people. There were people who would just ignore a leaflet from him for months and months and months
That's right.
until they get pulled by management over some bullshit, and they're like, "Give me one of those leaflets."
Absolutely. Yeah. That actually
Um,
brings up an extra really important point with organizing is that
and
you
he
can't
said,
organize through Zoom and you can't organize through flyers. You need to talk and listen.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh,
"Yeah, no," but it also helps to have something tangible to hand
Of
to
course.
the worker.
No, that's all good tools. But at the end of the day, you need to have meaningful relationships, meaningful conversations,
That's right.
one on one, looking in each other's eyes, not some phone call. Phone calls are okay, but they're not connecting with people on a level that they're going to feel good about making that decision, right?
Um,
It's hugely
So-
important.
I think we're gonna wrap up. This has been a great talk. Do you have any
Oh,
final comments? Anything you want to say, or anyone who's listening who might want to start a union at their workplace? Any advice you might have for them that maybe we didn't get to?
I don't know, Joe, you got something?
No, I think that's
No?
Okay,
All
no
right.
problem.
Oh, you know what?
I'll let it-
Actually, I will add one thing about my my other failed unionizing attempt. So, what we got in when I worked at School of Rock, when I taught guitar, I started talking to people about unionizing. Yeah, we got paid fucking nothing, and benefits were very meager, if anything. It was just a part-time thing, but you would spend it's like the travel time you talk about and stuff. You spend 6 hours at the place, and you might have like a half hour here and there that's empty, and it's like, well, fucking pay me. I'm here. Like, spent my whole fucking day here.
Yep.
So there's that. Then there was also something that I chose to organize around and tried to rally people with it, but it was we had to write like a little note, usually a few sentences, but just like instructions on practice and stuff. Like, we had to write a little note for each kid after a lesson, and they would just tell us like, oh, you just do it in the last 5 minutes of the lesson. I'm like, no, we're teaching the lesson during the lesson. So it was because everyone would do it after work, and you have to
Yeah,
spend a
right.
little, so it takes a little thought. It wasn't like forever, but it was like 30, 45 minutes if you had a lot
No,
of
and that
lessons
and
that
that
day.
becomes common practice, and so now all of a
Yeah.
sudden that's expected, and
Right,
yeah,
right. So we organized on that without a union, and we ended up getting it. So like the one of the friggin' School of Rock locations in Massachusetts gets paid for their notes because we just made us think about it.
yeah, all
And that's
right.
I didn't know what the hell I was doing, so I probably made a lot of other mistakes in like organizing. But yeah, I was surprised that that didn't kind of like light more of a spark for people. But
Yeah, it's
that
funny
that
what
was the
people feel
advice I was
passionate
getting.
about, eh?
What's that?
Yeah, it's funny what people feel passionate about. Like the thing, their issue, the thing that they really, really, that's their thing, that's their trigger, that's the moment they're going to decide yes or no about.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
everybody's so different, and sometimes it seems so strange what they're hung up about, you know?
Yeah.
And then there's other people, it's just pay. For most people, it's like, I just want more money. That's what they say, right? Yeah. So Aaron, if I were to leave one thing on the podcast, I guess I'd like to say to anyone who happens to listen to this that if you're not happy with the way your work's going, if you want to have a voice that's equal to management about your career, about your job, if you think that it's important that you have a seat at the table when it comes to making decisions about your work, your career, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, or are you just going to be told what you're making, what you get, what you don't get, what you're allowed to do, what you're not allowed to do, when you can do it, all those aspects of work, right? If you think you deserve a strong voice about your job, your career, the thing that you do, I would highly advise that you talk to a union organizer. Okay? I don't want you to jump through every hoop. I just want you to talk to a union of your choice. Talk to them about your work. Talk to them about what you'd like to see happen. They will tell you, a good union will tell you what your rights are, what your labor rights are. They'll tell you what a union can do for you and what a union can't do for you, right? You're going to have a much better, more informed picture of your job with a single conversation. And so I really encourage anyone who's non-union out there, um, out of curiosity only, talk to a union organizer. If you're passionate about your job and you want to make things better, if you notice there's a lot of problems at your work, or such as you guys are not getting paid well, you guys are not getting the time off you deserve, you're understaffed, all the issues that workers commonly face, I really encourage you to talk to a union organizer. Phone their office. All it takes one phone call. You phone a union and say, "I'd really want to talk to an organizer," and they will inform you. Then you need to choose, okay, do we as a group, unions, it's a group, do we want to do this or not? And it goes down the path from there, right? You can choose no. Of course you can. You can choose yes. Okay, right? But just be informed. And it starts by not listening to management when we talk about unions. Oh, you don't like unions, they're all corrupt. Oh, we don't like unions because of this, because they pay dues. Don't listen to that garbage. Go talk to a union organizer. They will set you straight on the facts, and then you'll make an informed decision going from there, right?
On that note, I will say, yeah, there's whether you're an archaeologist or just a worker, like there's I hope something in this episode resonated with you, and I'll leave us with something that Chris Small said, talk about the Amazon labor union. Love and solidarity are free, and that is one thing the bosses can't calculate.
Hey,
Oh
that
yeah.
is beautiful, man.
It was so good. Um, Sean Thompson, organizer, and good friend of mine. Thank you so much for coming on.
Right
And
on.
I will say you got me on Billy Bragg, like
Yeah.
all those years ago. You introduced me to him, and so you're the
Oh, yeah.
reason. You're part of the reason why I'm here today doing this podcast
Ha
and engaging in these politics.
I'm gonna tell my wife I did something right. She's gonna be like, "No, you didn't."
Well, his song "World Turned Upside Down" by the song about a ragged band of diggers.
Yeah,
Fucking that got us through. That got me through the organizing drive.
absolutely. That's good
Um,
stuff right there.
yeah. So yeah, Sean, Joe, thanks for coming out, and it was really great to have you. Happy Labor Day, everybody.
Good to meet you, Joe.
Yeah, you too. Good stuff.
Recording stopped.
Oh,
Woo!
fantastic. That went so much longer than I thought it would.
It was good though.
Yeah, that was awesome. And we got lots of really great material out of that. Sean, that was invaluable. There's yeah, like I said, like thanks again for coming on.
Right on, man. It's my pleasure. Anytime. I love, I talk labor and unions. That's what I do now. It doesn't matter what I'm doing with my hands or my brain is just all about workers.
A long
That's
way
all I
from
do.
when we first started hanging out. We'd be out till like on a Tuesday night till like 2 a.m.
Oh yeah,
just getting
drinking in a
wrecked.
parking lot. Yeah,
Yeah, and then just show up to work the next day 4
Yeah.
hours later.
I didn't know. I didn't know I was an idiot. I didn't know.
Oh no, we all were. Yeah. Some of this van reeks of booze. Remember that?
Oh yeah, I do remember
Fucking
that.
embarrassing.
I'm not embarrassed. That's how legends are made.
Field techs are piling into the van like, wow, someone here reeks of booze.
Joe, one time, Joe, I want to hear
Sounds
about
like-
this music
sounds like, "That's
lesson
me."
stuff sometime, eh?
What's
What?
that?
Oh, Joe, I want to talk to you about some music stuff sometime, man, because
Oh,
I'm a
hell yeah.
musician all my life, and
Those are all,
You know?
those are all records behind you there.
oh yeah, that's
Nice.
only a 1/3 of the collection. It's insane, for sure. Yeah,
actually,
but
Sean taught me a little bit on guitar as well.
yeah, I play a little guitar. I'm a
Cool.
harmonica player, bass player, that kind of thing. My
That's what you
guitar,
were- before you
30 years of guitar, I'm still terrible. What the fuck is that, right? Like, I'm so
Yeah.
bad.
It's
Right?
not
30 years
easy.
of harmonica, 18 years of harmonica player. You
No, I
toured
ju-
across Canada 3 times.
Oh yeah,
something like that.
yeah. No, I played a lot of music.
Being like really good at harmonica is cool. Like that's not a lot of people do that.
For
I
sure.
figured out how to blow out some fucking like Neil Young stuff while I'm playing
Yeah.
guitar, and I'm like, ooh, this is cool. I can play two
That-
instruments.
That
But,
has
like-
its place, yeah.
Yeah.
Getting technical on it is a very face technical thing. It takes a while. It takes a little while.
Yeah, yeah, like blowing harder to bend the note, like
Yeah.
all that stuff. Like I would love to.
Down into the other note and then
Yeah.
thread it into this, and yeah.
You play any
Yeah.
like Blues Traveler?
Oh sure, yeah. Although that guy's a virtuoso. Come on,
Yeah.
no one plays like him. No, if I ever played like him, I'd wake up and be like, I didn't play like him. Just thought I did,
All right.
for sure. Right on, guys. Well, if we're out of here, we're out of here.
All right.
Okay. Yeah, I'm debating if I should just keep streaming or I mean we had 9 viewers at one point for our peak.
Hey,
So,
that's great.
Nice.
Right on. I hope they got something out of it.
yeah, I hope so too, guys. Yeah, chat, should I stay on or maybe we'll watch some Bar Rescue?
Shout out to Mayor McCheese.
Mary Cheese, yeah.
Yeah.
He's-
Yeah, I gotta get ready for bed, but I'll be watching, Aaron.
yeah,
if you do.
I put in I put in 48 hours this week. So
Woof.
4 hours overtime, baby.
Nice.
Thing is though, like
Yeah.
I've had people also say like just the amount of like me personally, my education, I have a master's degree and 19 years experience. And I'm still only making like 30 I think I'm at $34
Sure,
an
yeah.
hour now. I'm
Yeah.
like,
Just-
what
you-
do I gotta do to get to like 41, which is like starting wage of a laborer in this union?
two masters. I can answer that. You need 2 master's degrees,
All right.
and you need 37 years of experience to make $4 more.
My
Yeah.
wrist can't fucking handle this anymore.
At least 65. Like, oh yeah, I got it.
I got it. I need a back brace, but I got it.
Oh, dude, I'm already there. Everyone already makes fun of me for being elderly.
Oh,
Don't
God.
even go there with me, man. I'm the old man around here.
I think I'm the only one still working with a 3-digit R license number.
Nice. Wow. Oh, the stories it tells. All right, guys.
Well-
Ciao for now.
Okay,
Alright.
Cool.
thanks
See ya.
again, bud. All right, and thanks again, Joe. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's always
See ya.
good to go down memory lane and